Hello, Bronwen. Welcome to Wealth Talk.
Hi, Chris. How are you?
Very good, thank you. Great to have you on here today, Bronwen. Now, we've spoken before in the past for Escape the Rat Race, and you were travelling the world at that point, and I'm sure we'll get to hear some of that story today, hopefully. But for anyone else listening, why don't you just take a minute and share a little bit about kind of your connection with Wealth Builders and where that all began for you?
Of course. Well, we're talking about 5-6 years ago now. I was working in the city, working really long hours, Lloyds Bank, 21 years. I decided that I just didn't want to do that commute anymore and didn't want to take my pension when I was 67. So I started in property and got a really good education with Simon Zucci and the Property Investors Network. And the key for me at that point was really understanding and learning from an expert about property. And I met Kevin in my first year when I was learning. I actually met him up in Birmingham when I was on my mastermind program. And what I was looking for then was investors. I was looking for investors in my residential property investing because I ran out of money very quickly, of course. And I met Kevin to see if I could borrow from other people, from SIPs and SSASs. So I was already looking at the pensions side of things. Even though it wasn't my pension, I was looking to borrow from other people's. But a long story short, after a couple of years, John and I both were able to give up our day jobs through property rental. And another year after investing a bit more into larger deals and commercial deals, we were able to escape the UK, and my husband did the Clipper around the world yacht race. I travelled and followed him around the world and had my own adventures. And still running the business while we were going. And then coming back to the UK, we just thought, well, my goodness, we'll keep investing in property. But the big thing about going around the world for me was actually starting another business. So we did the property, we started another business in terms of helping educate other people and helping inspire other people from what we've done. So Kevin's been part of that. I created my own SaaS about 3 years ago now, and that's a very different business, of course. So not only do I still borrow from other people, I also lend to people through my own SaaS. So it's been a whirlwind, really. 5 years sounds a long time, but it's gone so fast, and I've created lots of businesses in the process. And of course, I've got my book coming out, and I know we're going to talk about that soon.
We will indeed. And Kevin and I talk about, kind of the length of time. How long does it take to become financially independent? And Kevin will often say, if you really focus on it, that it can be achieved within 5 to 7 years. And I think you've proved there that by using leverage, and maybe we can talk on some of the aspects of the Wealth Builders model, and obviously focusing on your pillars, focusing on property first. And then, as you mentioned, looking at the pension pillar. I know that the joint venture pillar is also one that you've engaged in.
Yes,
and
indeed.
For anyone listening now, your story, which of course you've just written a book about, and we're talking about IP today, and before the book obviously has to come that education, that experience. So you can't shortcut that process, can you?
No, not at all. And we decided to invest, quite a lot of money in our education to begin with. And it's really important to learn from somebody who's already doing it, who's got the experience, and who can really share their story and their examples. So that was really important to both John and myself, but also the accountability and support that you get through coaching, mentoring, having somebody to just hold your hand through some of the difficult stages is very important. The joint venture pillar, yes, you run out of money very quickly, but also if you haven't got the skill sets for certain things, but you've got other skills, you can actually combine those and work with other people. So I've got a lot of examples of those in my book. It was particularly important when we ran out of money, but we had the knowledge. So we'd obviously learnt about property investing, and other people had money. So if you combine the two together, and if somebody's happy to share the risk and share the upside and the downside, then that's how a joint venture can work. And we've done a few of those, and we're still doing them around development now. So we've moved from resi through to commercial and doing sort of new developments. So at every stage, no matter where I was in my knowledge, there was always somebody and something I could do that was, more advanced, but I needed somebody else to help, either through coaching or mentoring or through joint venturing.
And we talk about when you're on this entrepreneurial journey, when you're crossing the bridge from kind of where you are to where you want to get to, that it's really important to always have an arm stretched out both ways, one in front of you to learn from the mentors. And you've talked a lot about getting great education from people that have already been there and done it. But then you obviously decided at one point that it was the right time for you to kind of reach out behind you and to start helping those who were a little bit earlier on in their journey. So tell us about how that came about, Bronwen.
Yes, of course. So having completed Simon Zucci's Property Mastermind program, he invited me to host the Southampton PIN meeting, which is a monthly meeting that as a host, you've got a lot of responsibility, but you don't get paid to do it. And being invited to do that after just 12 months of education was quite an honor, really. So I ran that PIN meeting. Through that, we invite speakers to talk, and I really enjoyed it. And through that, people saw me as a role model. And it opened my eyes up that actually I was inspiring people. And I just really enjoyed helping people. And when John said he was going to sign up and to do all the way around the world, which is 12 months of travel, and I wouldn't see him a huge amount during that time, I thought, well, now's my chance to create a business where I can help other people because I enjoyed it so much. So I thought, well, if I'm traveling too, it won't be face-to-face education. Let's do something that's going to be online webinars. That's what I chose to do. And including coaching, of course, because I know how important that is. So it took me a little while to set up various modules, to create that business online, and then to take it around the world. And I would be here with my headphones on, coaching people, sometimes in the middle of the night, sometimes overlooking the gorgeous Whitsundays in Australia. And quite often my coachees wouldn't even know where I was. But I absolutely loved it, and I got great feedback. So that created my business at that point.
So that obviously is intellectual property. It's taking your knowledge, turning that into a product that is online, which someone can purchase 24/7 when you're asleep, when you're traveling. And obviously then the coaching is a commitment from your side. But as you say, you can do that wherever you are and, to fit around your schedule.
Indeed. And, Simon Zucci gave me his blessing as well. He felt that was a gap in the market and that he was right behind me and supporting me in doing that. So that helped me too.
Okay. And so around about, I suppose, 2 years on now, you are at the point where you've just written your first book, Bronwen. So how has that experience been for you?
Well, yes, very, very difficult. I must admit, writing a book, here it is, I'm holding it up, Building Your Dream Life. It was really possible because of the time freedom that we had. Having traveled the world, we had a lot of interest in the press. The press were coming to us saying, we want to interview you. They did lots of articles in magazines and things. And I thought, well, my goodness, it is a bit unusual what we've done, being able to have traveled the world and keep a business going and have fun at the same time. A lot of people in property will, they'll start looking for new deals and keep looking for new deals and even manage their own properties. And that's something that John and I have never done. And it's all about leverage, using other people, making sure that we use experts. And we have different people looking after different parts of our property business. So our residential, all our properties are managed by people who invest themselves. So not high street agents, but people that we know and trust. So that's one part of it. We have a guest house business. That's a trading business. So that's also in the business pillar, really, rather than just the property pillar. That's the guest houses, a bit more like hotels, really. So that business is managed by other people, but we have to manage them. So we've still got a lot of responsibility in that side of it. And then we've got the small developments where we joint venture with a developer, and we sort of create the opportunity to do some amazing deals there. So again, we can do that anywhere in the world. as long as we're around to sign the documents to do some of the detail in the UK. So yeah, the key for me was this is inspirational to other people, and can I share what I know to help other people understand and know the steps to create that freedom. And that's why I decided that I would write the book. Having travelled the world, John wanted to see a bit more of the land and not just the sea. So we said, well, if we're going to write books, he's going to write one as well about his clipper ocean racing experience. We said that we would go back to the Whitsundays in northern Queensland, and that would be the place that we would write our books. So we set off with that as a mission. We did a bit of house sitting over there. We did 3 months in one property, looking after the house, watering the garden, and got our sort of laptops out. And that's when we started writing. But of course, it's not that easy. I'm not great with, writing particularly. I'm great with people, but sit me down just to write a book, and I was thinking that's going to be so difficult. So I did get a book coach. I got somebody who was going to nudge me, to push me, to motivate me. And all she did was just have that regular sign in, coaching, mentoring, and helping me structure what I was doing. And it gave me the impetus to finish it. And yourself, you've written a book, of course. It's not easy, and getting it organized and structured, because it's all in your head. It's really hard to get it down in writing. But I've finished it. I've got a publisher. It publishes this Friday, the 28th. Of course, it depends when you're listening to this podcast. But yes, I can't believe it's actually out and in writing. And lots and lots of case studies in there as well. And that really brought it to life. I did a bit of research with people as to what they would want to see in a book. A lot of people said, I don't want just the glossy, look what I've done, rah, rah, Of course, there's loads of books about that. They wanted to hear the problems, what went wrong, and how I overcame those problems, and how I managed my risks. And so that's really pretty much how the book is structured, around the case studies and mindset, risk management, and how to overcome those problems. Yeah.
It looks great. I can see it. We're actually recording this interview on video, so for anyone who would like to watch the recording, can see the book there of Bronwen, then head over to the WealthBuilders membership site. If you access for free there, you can see a whole host of our podcast interviews there. So Bronwen, you touched on the word leverage there. I just want to bring that point out because it's such an important lesson for anyone listening now. We have the model at WealthBuilders, which we teach our members, is FIRST, which is financial leverage, intellectual, relationships, systems and time. And I think you've really put all of those areas into play, haven't you, Bronwen?
Oh my goodness, yes, multiple times. It is a process, and it is, to build the confidence to take that next step, to turn that next wheel. You do need to have different things in place, and that's what I teach a lot of people, because you need that confidence to come across to investors as trustworthy and to take that next step. If it's a joint venture, if it's starting out in business, there's so many different things. I call it the foundation steps. You have to have that foundation in place before you can move to that next stage. So it's the same with the pillars and first. It's the same process.
Absolutely. So Bronwen, final word, why is writing a book so important for you in your business? How do you think this will now help you to reach even more people and kind of take that next step?
Yeah. Well, I'm a very visual person. Books, I struggle with books. I listen to Audible, a lot of audio books. So what I decided that, it has to start with the paper to begin with. A lot of people who perhaps I don't reach to will pick that book up and read it, and then realize maybe they could start learning with me. I've created an Audible version of the book, of course. That's one of the first things I did after I'd finished the manuscript was record it so that people could access it in that way as well. But the important thing is that you can reread it, you can look at the case studies, you can see the reality of it, and then you can engage with me and have a chat. So yes, it's going to reach so many more people. Of course, it's going to be given as part of my program along with Simon Zucchi's book. And there's a whole chapter in there about SSAS pensions and a whole section about SSAS and how pensions have helped too. And it's an all-round book with so many different elements to it that, I think it's going to give people real insight to what's possible and then want to drill down further.
Yeah, I know you've been working with and supporting many of our Wealth Builder students as well on their property journey. So I'm sure that now with the release of the book, there'll be many more who will be able to reach out to you as well. So thank you very much for sharing, Bronwen. Congratulations on a fantastic story so far, and I'm sure there's much more to come.
Thank you very much, Chris. And I think there's a book in everybody. So I encourage people listening to this to think about what could you write about to help other people in their journeys.
Thank you.